Today, basically, yesterday, ma'am, finance minister has made a lot of announcements in continuation of the Atmanirbhar package. You are already aware of the Atmanirbhar package with almost 10 lakh, 11 lakh crores, 10% of the GDP. There have been so many schemes announced by the government of India, but in continuation of those schemes, subsequently also there are two, three times on two, three couple of occasions, the government came up with a lot of packages. Now, yesterday was I believe it is the third phase of the package, third or fourth phase of the package. So before getting into all those announcements, let me be very, very clear about some of the adverse articles appeared in the newspaper. But today I'll be confining myself to only one small article. But anyhow, tomorrow I'll be dealing with almost all the articles related to the same topic. But let me go through very quickly. This is a very small topic. And so what is the heading? Number wise, how many years have we lost to coronavirus? So again, repeatedly we have been focusing on the impacts of the corona pandemic. So I think I have delved on this topic not less than 4 or 5 times. But now we are quite aware the GDP growth rate has plummeted to minus 7.3 last financial year. And along with the decline in the GDP growth rate, there have been so many other perilous impacts brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. So you are also aware to some extent, like the debt rate has already gone up because of the 18 lakh crore package as a part of the Atmanirbhar package. The debt to GDP ratio has gone up to 90%, and the fiscal deficit has also gone up to around 9%. So these are all some of the negative side of the economic parameters. These are all the major economic parameters. You are also aware the inflation has also gone up beyond the barrier of 6%. The other day it was touching upon 6.3%. The wholesale price index has already crossed 14%. Okay, now. So with this backdrop, we are already aware the economy is very badly impacted by the COVID pandemic. Now the question raised by this author is Abhishek Wagmore. So he is the author of this particular article. He wanted to rather arrive at a particular volume. What is the volume of the damage that has happened? So when we try to compare with this damage with the earlier damages in the history of India, so where do we stand? So that is what exactly the purpose of this article. It's a very small, brief article. I'll quickly run through. Now, as we get a feeling that we are winning against COVID-19, we should also be mindful about what we have lost along the way. So this is a question in the title. So what exactly we have lost? Now, so I posed three questions to myself. So I, in the sense, this is the other. Others wants to raise some three questions. What are these questions? How much power did the economy lose since the pandemic began? How much of the quantity of the growth in terms of various parameters has been lost? Number one, as we are already aware, 7.3% is the growth rate, minus growth rate that we got 2021, and consumer spending also fell by 9% because there is no money in the hands of the people. Automatically the consumers also stopped spending in the market, so the demand in the market has also come down, and investments contracted by more than 10%. So investments, in the sense you are already aware, capital formation, GCF, gross capital formation, or GFCF, gross fixed capital formation, has also shrunk to a substantial extent. So these are all the impacts of the bad year. So manufacturing, services, construction lost value somewhere in the range of 7 to 9%. But of course, exactly how much was it is a quantification of all this loss is not really possible as an outsider. So the loss can be calculated only by the government. As a private person, as an author, as a writer, he cannot do. But he came up with certain rough estimates. So the manufacturing, services, and all other sectors loss could be around 7 to 9%. Agriculture was the only sector that grew its gross value added by almost uh, uh, so you are already aware. So the gross value added or the GDP of the GVF, the agriculture sector was undisturbed because the first wave of pandemic didn't affect the villages. Therefore, agriculture was totally insulated. It is totally out of the danger of the pandemic. Therefore, of course, luckily we also got good monsoon. Therefore, agriculture recorded plus 3.5% growth rate. Plus 3.5% growth rate. Yes. So this is what he's saying. Okay. Now, how grave was the loss? The next question is, how grave was the loss? Now, these figures do not tell me how much this loss means over a slightly longer period of 3 to 4 years. So again, he is admitting that it is not possible to quantify the loss. But in the last 3 4 years, by making a comparison, what could be the loss, probable loss? In 2021, GVN manufacturing and sector comprising trade, transport, communications was close to its level of 1718. So that means by 1718, what was the actual growth rate? So that was actually realized in the 2021. That means almost 2 years back. 2 years back. Value lost in construction was also similar. Construction activity is also one of the major drivers of the economy. The GVA last year was smaller than what had been achieved in 1819. So again, he is comparing with 1819. So 1819, when it is compared, it is lower than that level. So manufacturing lost 3 years of progress. So while construction lost 2 years, yes, we have gone backwards by a couple of years. So this is almost a conclusion. So what exactly is the importance, the essence of this article is, he is trying to quantify, but he cannot. But by making comparison with the present levels of the productivity, he is saying, simply saying, we have gone back to 2 to 3 years of development. So unless the government comes up with the figures after the economic survey, really we cannot really quantify the loss. But it is only he's trying to make a comparison with the 2 or 3 years back. What was the productivity level? Now what is the productivity? But again, there will be so many other parameters which are variable parameters like inflation, rupee exchange rate. So all these factors will also really determine the loss. But now, right now, it is not possible to determine exactly. This is only a rough estimate. Okay. So this is a diagrammatic representation of manufacturing last 2 years. If you see the output across these years, it's almost 21.5. It is gross value added in trillions. So now it is again 25.5. So almost close to 2017-18. That means we have lost 3 years. So now if you go back once again, if you look at this year, particular year, 2017-18, the output was 25.7. Now, if you come to this year, this is almost again 25.7, 25.9. So this is in terms of the productivity compared between these 2 years, almost it is similar to 2017-18 level. So he says we have lost 3 years. Now, same is the case with construction, but here the loss is slightly lower, slightly lower. So if you look at this, this is 12.8 last year, and it is equal to almost again roughly 12. I think this can be equated to this 17-18. But last 2 years, he says only 2 years. Okay. So it should be equal to 30-19. This should be. I don't know why he's saying like this. 12.8. So here also it is almost equal to the 17-18 level. Okay, anyhow, but let us try to observe the essence only. Let's not get bothered by these figures. So how far we have gone back in terms of the goods and services we consume. So in April 21, the sale, consumption and production of things that we regularly use or consume went back to the levels of what we had achieved several years back. So again, he's making a comparison. So the same thing. It is nothing but the inference of what has been presented in the previous slides. Output of core industries such as cement, refineries, steel, etc., and their production index was 126%. 126%. Now it is almost equal to the level of 2017. So that means how many years we lost? Almost 3 years we have lost. So average output of the previous 6 months, today's output level was still achieved in January 18. That's a loss of 3 years of output. So sales of passenger vehicles such as cars, SUVs, and some other vehicles is also at 2016 level. It is almost around 2016 level. So loss of 5 years. So further down the line, the amount of electricity we consumed during the second wave was the same that we had consumed in 2014. So the electricity consumption has also come down during the pandemic level. Now that is equal to 2014 level. So distance covered by Indian trains was also very less. So these are all some of the statistics given by the author. So what this author is trying to say, because of the pandemic, we have lost some 3 to 4 years of valuable time. Practically, we have regressed back into some 3 years. So we have went back into the 2017-18 level. So this is how exactly the author tried to convince us. Okay. Any doubts in this article? But the same article will be once again discussed tomorrow. There are similar articles appeared today. I'll discuss them tomorrow. Okay, now coming to the very important announcement made by the finance minister. So you see the heading, health, credit, jobs. Finance minister announces 8 measures to revive economy in pandemic. So the tagline is Sitharaman unveils more support measures for the economy, including a 50% expansion in its emergency credit program. So this is an article appeared in the Business Standard. Of course, every news magazine carried this article. Okay. Now, please understand, these are very, very important measures taken by the government, because in the subsequent days to come, we'll have a lot of discussion, because already 1 to adverse articles appeared in the newspaper. In the days to come, many more articles will also come in the newspaper. Therefore, it will be a very, very important aspect for the debate. Okay. Now, what is the first program announced by the FM? So 1 trillion loan guarantee scheme for COVID affected sectors. For some sectors, now the FM has unveiled a scheme with an outlay of 1.1 trillion. So 1,10,000 crore amount has been earmarked for this scheme. So what kind of scheme it is? It is a loan guarantee scheme. It is a loan guarantee scheme. What is loan guarantee? You should also understand. I think earlier also, I believe I told you. So there are certain guarantee schemes, emergency credit line guarantee scheme, and a lot of CGTMSE. So these kind of schemes are already there, which have been in operation for the last so many years, not just after the advent of this BJP government. Earlier also, these kind of schemes are already there. So for the last 20-30 years, these schemes are there. Now, it is one of the similar schemes, but it is a loan granting scheme with a guarantee. So let me give a small brief about what exactly this guarantee. So normally, if you go to the bank, the bankers will definitely reject your application for a loan, or citing so many reasons for the rejection, and naturally you'll come back. You'll come out dejected and rejected by a bank, because many of the bank managers say you have to show the collateral security, you have to get some 4-5 signatures, you should bring in some government employee, then only I can give you loan. This kind of conditionalities will be imposed by the bank managers for giving a loan, because they have got a lot of problems also. Because if a loan given by a bank manager, if it becomes bad, if it becomes a bad loan, it becomes an NPA. So the finger will be pointed at the bank manager, not at the defaulter. That is a problem. The bank manager will be penalized. his increments will be deducted, cut, and he will also lose his promotion. So there will be so many penal implications against the bank manager for not being able to recover a particular loan. So now you can understand we cannot find fault with a bank manager unless there is a 100% guarantee. So assurance by way of collateral security or by way of some renowned personalities, the bank manager is not ready to give a loan to some small people. Okay, big people can definitely get these loans by hook or crook. That is a different issue. Now, so realizing this situation, the apathy of the bank managers for giving loans to the poor people, now the government has introduced loan guarantee schemes. Loan guarantee is nothing but the government creates a trust. A body will be created. Government transfers some 100 rupees into the trust. And now this trust will take care of the defaulted loans. Now, as a loanee, I have approached a bank for 100 rupees loan. As usually, the bank manager says, no, you are not credit worthy. You bring some collateral security or bring some good people so that I will give you loan. This is an earlier situation. Now, after this guarantee scheme launch, now there is already 100 rupees deposited in a trust in a particular body, saying that, okay, don't worry, even if this loan becomes bad, the trust will reimburse that amount to the bank manager. So you will not be found fault. You will not be penalized. Even if a loanee becomes a defaulter, on behalf of the defaulter, the trust will pay that amount. So automatically, the bank manager will be protected. He is insulated from the defaults. So now, under this scheme, there have been several. There are now, I believe, some 10 to 15 different schemes are already there under the government. So different trusts have also been created. Some huge sums were also pumped into the trust, believing that banks will profusely lend the money. But I think earlier also I discussed this issue. But again, unfortunately, even though trust was created, some amount was already kept in the trust, but still the bank managers are not able to lend profusely because in the event of a particular loanee becomes defaulter, and naturally the bank manager will file an application to the trust for reimbursing that amount. Okay, I have become a defaulter. As a loanee, I have defaulted. But now what is the next thing to be done by the bank manager? He will have to seek the reimbursement from the trust. He will file an application to the trust, and the trust is supposed to replenish that amount, send that amount back to the bank manager. Then automatically his balance sheet will be clean. Balance sheet will be clean. Now the problem what the bankers are facing is this reimbursement to be made by the trust is not happening even within a year also. So there is a time lag between the reimbursement or replenishment by the trust and the default. Then what happens in the meantime? In the meantime, the bank manager automatically he will be transferred, or in between he is likely to be in the promotion panel, so he has to lose his promotion. So again, the same old situation is continuing. So that is the reason. Earlier also I told you, unless there is an automatic reimbursement by the trust, so the bank managers will not really effectively lend the money. Okay, but again, the government has not rectified that even today. But again, the government has launched another scheme. I believe in the next 4 or 5 days to come, definitely this will be one of the articles. So now the government has launched this scheme with 1.1 trillion loan guarantee. That means the trust will get 1.1 trillion amount. So to that extent, the loan should be given by the bankers. So that means this is for the COVID affected sectors. Now let's go further. Now out of this, 50,000 crore was totally allocated, almost 50% was allocated to the health sector for health infrastructure outside the 8 metropolitan cities. So not the major cities, the other smaller cities have been the focus areas, particularly in tier 2 and tier 3 cities and aspirational districts too. I think for the first time I am coming across you are all coming across with this aspirational districts word. Aspirational districts. What is this aspirational districts? I will let you know in the next slide. So now the essence from this bullet is 50% of this amount is meant for health sector. And what are the activities to be taken up? So existing projects with 50% of the required amount for expansion. So these existing hospitals can expand. New projects can also avail up to 75% of the required funds. In aspirational districts, 75% for new as well as existing schemes. That means the existing corporates, smaller corporates, or even medium-sized corporates, up to 50% can be given by the banks. So again, you please understand, this is all meant for the corporates. So whether a small fellow doesn't require 1 trillion rupees, no, 1 lakh crores is not required for a small fellow. But this is all meant for the big people. But of course, as you are aware, most of these hospitals are held by the corporate people. Now, anyhow, this is a good facility so that the infrastructure can be strengthened. Right. The maximum loan dispersed through this scheme will be capped at 100 crores. So beyond 100 crores, the money cannot be given. So up to 100 crores, the money can be given, lent by the banks. And guarantee will extend for 3 years. So up to 3 years, the guarantee will be given. So that means within 3 years, the money has to be repaid by the loanee. The interest rate charged at 7.95%, almost 8%. So this is a very reasonable charge. So the remaining 60,000 crores out of 1,10,000 million, 1,10,000 crores, 50,000 crores was allotted to healthcare sector. The balance 60,000 crores will be dispersed to other sectors, again at an interest rate of higher, a slightly higher interest rate of 8.25%. 8.25%. Okay. Now, what exactly are the aspirational districts? I don't want to go into the details, but it is also one of the important topics. Please read it very well. Sometime later, we'll also again come across with some kind of discussion on this aspirational districts. Basically, aspirational districts are nothing but they are the districts identified by the government where the human development indicators are very, very poor. You know, the HDI, according to the UNDP, is 131. So again, in these districts, the indicators are far, far below the national average. So that's how actually 115 districts have been identified by the government, spreading across 28 states, spreading across 28 states, and at least one from each state. So as I already mentioned, there are 49 indicators. There are 49 indicators with 5 identified thematic areas: health, nutrition, education, agriculture, and water and sanitation, financial inclusion, skill development, and basic infrastructure. So aspirational district, in a nutshell, they are the most backward districts where the human development indicators are the worst or at the subnational level. Okay. Now, once again, come back. So this is a very important scheme, 1.1 trillion loan guarantee scheme, meant for basically 50% meant for health related, and the remaining 60% will be on different sectors, particularly focused on aspirational districts. Okay. Now, the second program, this is an existing scheme. We already once discussed this scheme. Scope of ECLGS enlarged. So of course, details are yet to come. But ECLGS, you are already aware, Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme. Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme. This is absolutely meant for MSME sector. Micro, small, medium enterprises are actually brought under this particular scheme. You are already aware, we have more than 6 crore MSME units. After the pandemic, we don't know how many units are actually functioning. According to some estimate, 30% of the units have already shut down. Okay, that is a different issue. Now, under this ECLGS scheme 1, it was launched actually in the month of May with a timeline of almost 4 months. Within 4 months, the government is supposed to spend 3 lakh crores. 3 lakh crores was the actual outlay initially envisaged in the scheme. 3 lakh crores. Again, it is a guarantee. Again, it is in the form of a guarantee. Again, the trust will be replenishing the loss in case of a loss by the bankers. So it is also a credit guarantee scheme. Now the scheme has been expanded, and again 1.5 lakh crores has been added. 1.5 lakh crores has been added to the existing 3 lakh crores, bringing it to total 4.5 lakh crores. So this is the total outlay under this scheme, but of course the details are yet to come. But anyhow, this is mostly given to the MSME sector. Only MSME sector is the target sector. But earlier also I told you there are so many problems again under this scheme. Particularly NBFCs are not covered. Only commercial banks are permitted to give these loans. NBFCs, cooperative banks, and other banking sector organizations are not permitted to operate this scheme. That is one of the problems. And the second important problem was only existing loanees will be given the loans. Existing loanees, that means who have already availed loan in the same bank are allowed to take some more loan. So the fresh loanees are not allowed to take loans under this scheme. So these are some of the problems. So to date, so as on date, out of 3 lakh crores was originally envisaged, 2.69 lakh crores was the 2.69 lakh crores was already dispersed out of 3 lakh crores. So hardly some 30,000 crores is available. Now they are adding another 1.5 lakh crores. Roughly again some 2 lakh crores is available. So let us wait and see what kind of guidelines. So whether the problems earlier referred to the government of India have been taken care, have been observed. Let's wait and see. So now another small scheme has also been launched by the government. It is totally new scheme. A new credit guarantee scheme. Again, this is also a guarantee scheme for the small borrowers. So small borrowers in the sense, small petty vendors, roadside vendors, street vendors. So they are not able to take any loans from the government, therefore from the banks. Therefore, now the government is targeting some 25 lakh persons to be covered under this scheme. 25 lakh persons to be covered under this scheme, particularly for the small borrowers through again commercial banks as well as MFIs, micro financial institutions. This is one positive thing. So micro financial things, anyhow, we'll discuss them later. Micro financial institutions are not banks, but they cater to small lending in the villages. MFIs are similar to banks, but they are not exactly banks, but they are competent to give small loans at a particular interest. So, but allowing these loans to be channeled through micro financial institutions is a positive thing, definitely. Okay. The amount per loan will be capped at 1.25 lakhs. The maximum amount that can be given is only 1.25 lakh, and interest rate at MCLR plus 2%. I think I also already told you what is MCLR. Marginal cost of funds lending rate. Marginal cost of funding rate is the minimum rate below which no bank is permitted to lend. So this MCLR scale will vary from bank to bank depending upon their expenditure. So MCLR is nothing but, so this is linked to the repo rate, reverse repo rate, all the government rates will also be linked to this MCLR. That means the floating rates, whenever the RBI changes its rates, or bank rate or base rate is changed by the Reserve Bank, automatically MCLR should also be adjusted accordingly. So that means the MCLR rate is more flexible. So prior to MCLR, we used to have the base rate and prime BPLR, basic prime lending rate. PLR was also earlier there. That was replaced finally by the MCLR. Now MCLR is also now replaced by again a floating rate. But anyhow, somehow this government is mentioning about MCLR. But anyhow, we will discuss all those things subsequently. So now the loan sanctioned under this scheme will be maximum 1.25 lakhs with MCLR interest rate. MCLR interest rate, for example, in HDFC Bank, it is almost equal to 14%. In a commercial bank like a State Bank, it is around 7%. So it varies. It varies. So, but now my question is, this is a question I am raising. Now, when there are already so many schemes in the government, every bank has been instructed to lend loans profusely to the small people, particularly the poor people or roadside vendors, street vendors. And there is already a scheme called prime lending. Prime lending. Under prime lending category, already from every bank, if a bank is supposed to give 100 rupees loans, some 40% of the loans are to be earmarked for certain small people like MSME farmers, MSME unit owners, or small and marginal farmers. So under I'm sorry, priority sector lending. Under priority sector lending, this is the scheme called. Under priority sector lending, 40% of the loans are already dedicated to the small people. And out of this 40%, as I mentioned at the end, out of the 40%, 18% is meant for agriculture and elite, and 8%, and within the 18%, and some 7.5% is 7.5% is meant for MSME, smaller units. So already there is a provision under Reserve Bank guidelines, priority sector lending, 40% of the money that is flowing into the market by way of lending from the commercial banks should necessarily be invariably allotted to this priority sector lending people. These are the target people. When the scheme is already there, where is the need for another scheme like the small borrower scheme now launched? Where is the need? Now this is a question. Flag this issue. We'll discuss subsequently.